So I'm going to start by welcoming everyone to Talker and Riyadh, the Wheel of Time showcast. It's nice to have you here. I'm your host, Joe Perry, here with my co-host, the lovely Jen Isgro, and the dashing Tom Kokoza. How are you, Jen?
I'm great. This is like a slightly different beginning, like a bonus. Gotta find this episode with the.
It's an alternate beginning.
An alternate beginning.
Intro.
I like it. An alternate intro. I'm doing great. I am in my house. I haven't been staying here because our one full bathroom has been being renovated since Monday. So I've been staying with my in-laws. But I think I spoke about my ant problem on the show last week.
Yeah.
So I just have a quick little story about the ants that I wanted to share with you guys.
Anecdote, if you will.
I won't. So the exterminator came again Monday night after they had gutted the bathroom, and he sprayed again outside and he sprayed inside the shower. And I saw a couple of ants, and he did this like dust insecticide that was like puffing into the cracks of the walls and everything to try to really get in. So before he left, I saw like a couple coming out and they were like covered in dust, and he was like,
it's just pure cocaine.
He was like, don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry. He left. Okay. So now me and Dan are in the house alone, just like gathering stuff up. The kids weren't there to go back to his parents' house. And like they start coming out like a lot more. So they're coming out of the bathroom upstairs, and then the closet, which is right under the shower that has like still had a hole in it at this point where the pipe had leaked. It's a whole thing. They were coming out of there too. Like just coming out. So Dan like goes into the bathroom downstairs just to use the bathroom. I'm like huddled up next to the wall. Like I want to be inside the bathroom with him, but I can't. So then they start coming. I can't really explain it, but they're coming out of the bathroom upstairs and like dropping off the landing onto my stairs. So I'm next to the stairs like this, and they're
it was like
they're raiding out of.
No, they're like trying to get away.
More of an Ant 9/11 type scenario.
I was gonna say 9/11, but I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it. But they're covered in dust. I was thinking about the dust part of it, but they're coming out of the wall now to get away from the dust, I guess. But they're literally like dropping off. Are you saying because of the dropping part? That's not what I was thinking. Oh, no. I wasn't thinking. They weren't dying though, Joe. They were hitting the stairs and then walking down the stairs. Like this.
If only those people were that lucky.
Continuing to be, they were alive. They weren't dying. I was out of my mind. I was like this. If anybody's not watching on YouTube, I have my arms crossed in front of me, huddled up against the wall. I got out of the house and waited in the car, and Dan literally for 20 minutes was going up and down the stairs to the two locations killing ants. But the good news is that the next day he only saw dead ones, and from Tuesday on, we haven't seen any ants. The hole in the closet is closed. The shower is like ready to be tiled. So I'm hoping and praying that they're not going to come out of like a new location. But right now,
they'll always come back. I mean, they're ants. They always come back. You just gotta have
not little ones. These are carpenter ants. They had like a nest. So if the nest was eradicated, maybe they won't come back.
Okay.
That's just.
No, I'm not saying it as like a bad. Like I'm not trying to say it's a futile fight. I'm just saying usually have to have like the exterminator come next year just to spray again to kind of make sure that they
he's
don't
like my best friend now. Even though I was like he did this, but like that's what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Now they're dead. So it was just a bad.
Tom, hey, how are you doing?
I don't know, Joe. I was doing well, but that story kind of, I don't know, affected me in a lot of ways. I want to tell you, I very much appreciate your alternate opening for this episode, and your warm words describing Jennifer and myself. It really hit me right in the cockles of my heart. I'm excited to do a show tonight, Joe. It's a fun one, I think.
Yeah, we've got some news to talk about, and then we've got some little introspection. Well, that's not introspection because we're not really talking about ourselves. Retrospection. Is that a word?
No, it might be. I've never heard anyone say it before, but we plan to
new ground here.
We're doing some sort of spection.
We're definitely specting. So
there's a spect that is going to happen.
Yeah, it's coming though. So don't expect anything big. Expect whatever. I screwed it up. I'll cut that from the podcast. So let's talk about some news. So the first thing that was interesting that I wanted to talk about, and I thought this was really all we were gonna get this week, but then we got something else, was they announced the release date for Rings of Power, which is going to be August 29th, I believe, of this year. So that's right around the same time Wheel of Time started last year with season 2. So,
Is it the same, like Friday of Labor Day? I'm going to quickly look.
I think, it was the Friday before Labor Day last. Yeah. So it's the same exact day.
It's Thursday, actually, the 29th. So, but that's when it ended up being released.
Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
Wow. They're clinging to this Labor Day thing. I hope it's not going to repeat.
So, and then, let's hold off on that for a second because there's something else that came out in terms of clues or hints to the release date of the show. And this week, Amazon, there was an event. It's called Upfront. And that's, from what I gathered and was able to find out from the internets, is that this is kind of an event that happens every year where TV stations and, TV production companies and whatnot showcase their new shows coming out to add to companies that buy ads or sell ads.
Yes.
It's buy ads to ad buyers. So I guess they're trying to, get people to buy ads for their shows.
But these shows don't have ads.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Like beforehand?
Amazon Prime now has ads.
Prime has ads now.
During the show?
Yes.
You got to pay more to not get
I don't
ads.
watch Prime that much.
Hulu has ads. Netflix has a tier with ads. All these streamers have ad tiers. So
it's just TV again.
Yes.
Yes.
It's cable.
It's basic cable.
Yes.
With the potential for...
They got us.
Yeah. Only you see the same ads more frequently than you would on live television, I think. Anyway, so this event took place this week. Amazon was, of course, there, and this must have been when they also released the Rings of Power release date.
Mm-hmm.
They released a little video too, kind of like a behind the scenes video of Rings of Power as well. And on the 14th, they talked a little bit about the Wheel of Time, and this is all that was reported from Amazon themselves. And I'll quote this. It says, "We're moving on to fantasy and sci-fi." I guess they're talking about their shows that are coming out. And it says 3 series, The Wheel of Time, Gen V, and The Boys, all return with new seasons in the coming year. Okay.
I commented that this is like the beginning of, what was the thing that they said? The beginning of summer?
Yeah, the summer. They were debating the end of summer.
Yeah, when's the beginning of summer?
Well, the end. It was the end of summer.
End of summer,
Right.
yeah.
So what we do know for a fact is that The Boys is returning, I believe, in June of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gen V, we did a little research beforehand. Jen found out that they just started filming for Gen V. There was delays because of, I think a cast member actually died. And by the way, Dabney Coleman, rest in peace.
Yeah, I know. He lived a life.
Yeah, lived a long life. 92.
Dabney.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So Gen V just started filming. The Boys is coming out in June, and you've got Wheel of Time, which finished filming, a month ago?
A couple months ago now.
A couple months ago. Sorry. Was it March? I'm sorry. Yeah, it was March, right? They finished in March. The coming year. So let's do it. Let's talk about, what does the coming year mean to you, Jen?
So if The Boys wasn't coming out in June, I would say the coming year could mean the year that is the calendar year that's coming, which would be 2025.
Agreed.
But if Boys is coming in the coming year and it's coming out in June of this year, right? Not 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that makes me think they mean 12 calendar months from now, which would be like May, which is kind of what we were like hoping for. Not hoping for, but like expecting. Hoping it wouldn't be Labor Day weekend of 2025.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. I don't know. I like that we got The Boys release date because it kind of gives us some kind of idea of what they're talking about.
How how much stake do you take in this phrase, the coming year being as literal a translation as we can find of it? Or just something that they said?
Like the boys isn't coming out in the coming year. It's coming out next month.
Yeah.
So like that's not 2025. So they can't be talking about 2025 in general. Right? Because it's literally coming out.
I think if they were talking about 2025 in general, they would say next year or in 2025. The phrase in the coming year is such a specific choice to make that it has to have specific meaning. It's not a general phrase.
You're saying it's a very deliberate choice that they use that.
Yes. I have a question. Was this said by somebody or was this a typed release?
This was their release. This was on the Amazon, about Amazon.
Okay. It wasn't like, site. It wasn't a transcription of something that somebody said while they were there?
No, not a...
No. That's less... If they wrote it's more deliberate than
it was an Amazon press. It was an Amazon. Amazon released this as
not just random guy from Amazon who's saying things.
No, it's not a blog about. There's a whole blog about the event, and every day, it's almost like they're tweeting, but it's a blog. Because it's like like May 14th at 10:50, Lord of the Rings of Power has been our most ambitious fantasy undertaking ever, and there's a little blurb under it. Then it's like May 14th, 10:49, which is a minute before that, is when they talk about the boys, and then same thing at 10:49. So I don't know if this is somebody's presenting at the event, and then this is just like the person who's reporting is just blogging it.
Yeah, I think that's basically what it is. It's almost like it's like a slideshow without slides. Kind of like this is the next thing that's being said. But this wasn't this wasn't like somebody was there like live tweeting what somebody else was saying. This was like an official Amazon
it's their website
press thing. So yeah, I think that this was the first time I really felt like there was a very strong opportunity that we would get it next spring. I think that the other thing that I find that I think that made me think about it, like again, this deliberate choice of words, is they may not have a release date locked down for it because they're not used to releasing the show in the spring, and they're probably trying to like figure out what when they're putting out what series, et cetera, not like overlap with things. But yeah, I think that I don't know. That's what it is. I think it's in the next 12 months. I agree with Jen.
So according to the internet, the phrase "the coming year" typically refers to the next calendar year, but its meaning can be nuanced depending on the context. In general, if it's early in the year, the coming year usually refers to the next calendar year. As the year progresses, it can refer to the remaining part of the current year or the next 12 months.
No, I wouldn't. If it was like January,
right?
Coming year.
This is not early in the. This is not early in the year to me. No, and that's just a general sense of.
I know.
Again, I think Jen's telling point is the fact that the boys was included in that phrase, and the boys is coming out a month from when they're having this conversation.
It's almost like they're saying this before we get together again and do this. These shows will have come out. You know, before upfronts of next year.
Yeah,
these shows be out.
I agree. I think this is the calendar month. And do you think they'd release The Boys and The Wheel of Time close together or overlap? Not The Boys, sorry, Gen V and The Wheel of Time. If they would overlap those two shows, I don't know. And if they've
probably
only started, if they've only started filming, I'm assuming if we had to put these in order, it would be The Boys, The Wheel of Time, and then Gen V.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And if we're saying that this coming year is in the next 12 months, that would leave at the very latest Gen V coming out next May or April or May, and The Wheel of Time comes up before that. It could be January, December. They could go back to December.
Oh, yeah. Merry Christmas.
They did it the first season. I mean, the first season
November,
was late November.
It's not going to be
It
November.
ended
of
Christmas
this year.
Eve, right? The last episode. It was right. It was.
Yeah, I think it ended Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And the Rings of Power, like I said, Rings of Power starts on the 29th of August. That's going to run 5 weeks, right? Yeah. If they do 3 episodes, then weekly episodes, it'll be 5 weeks. It'll be over by the first week in October. You know, then you've got all that time from October till potentially March or April for Gen V. So you figure, I'm going to say it's going to come out somewhere in that range between November and I would say February, the latest.
But does Gen V have a lot of like effects? Because I know The Boys
It's like a superhero show. Yeah.
So it's like not even going to be done filming until like, I don't know, July or August. So, and then how are they going to get that out by May?
I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm going by the coming year. They're saying the new season will be out in the coming year. So if we say the coming year is the 12 months, then it would have to be out by April or May.
Is it a half an hour long show or an hour long show?
I don't know.
I think it's an hour. I think it's the same as The Boys.
All right. So I don't know. That's not my problem. Right?
Yeah.
They're the ones who just committed to it.
I know, but I don't want.
Yeah,
like,
they can also.
I don't want to put all my eggs in the basket of The Boys, and then Gen V's over here like not going to be finished in by May. So like maybe Gen V is coming out late 2025, and that's throwing the whole hypothesis off.
You think
I guess that's sorry.
I was just going to say, so then you're saying the coming year is basically the rest of this year and all of next year?
I don't know.
That is not
because I don't believe that.
Now in the end of 2025?
I don't believe that Gen V will be out by in a year when they literally just started filming.
So then you don't.
It could be. I don't know how effects heavy it is.
So Jen, we can't take parts of this article, parts of this sentence, and say this is true, but not that's true. It's either all true or it's not true at all. So
yeah, I don't know how you can interpret the coming year to mean the next 2 years. I just don't know how that works.
A year and a half from now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? Yeah, you're right. It's Gen V's problem. I don't care about Gen V. Let the Gen V podcast worry about Gen V.
Which puts Wheel of Time sometime between.
I like that, Joe.
November and March. I mean, I don't think they'd start it right after Rings of Power. I think it would at least be a month. So I would say November. So November.
It's not coming out this year, Joe.
Yeah, I think I like February. I like a February kind of vibe to get us through the coldest, most miserable month of the year.
I think Q1 2025 is probably the most likely and safest bet. But
lock it up.
I'm going to put just a little teeny bit of hope into the end of this year.
All right, let's go for it.
Yeah. What day of the year? What day of the week is Christmas on this year?
Oh boy.
Oh, you're putting us on the spot here.
I'm pulling up the camera.
We're all doing it at the same time. All right, great.
It's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, so maybe it comes out the day after Christmas.
December 26th.
December 26th.
Merry Christmas.
I'm gonna say it is going to come out February 20th.
When's the Super Bowl this year?
I believe the Super Bowl is the 16th. I'm saying.
So we're gonna
February 16th. I think it's the week after the Super Bowl.
So we're gonna get Amazon.
No, it won't be the 16th. It'll be unless they change it, because Dan always complains about how it should be the day before President's Day, but it isn't. So it's probably the 9th. The Super Bowl.
No, I think they moved it. Didn't they move it a week back?
Well,
they
added
year?
the extra game.
Yeah, but it still wasn't on.
Do you think it's the 9th?
President's Day. Yeah, it's always.
This should be this is literally the easiest thing in the world to look
Google
up.
it. But no, because Dan always says like if they just add one more week, then everybody would have off the day after the Super Bowl.
So there we go. So here we go. Happy Valentine's Day. We're gonna be doing a Wheel of Time podcast all day long because Thursday is the 13th.
Oh, the 13th.
And so happy Valentine's Day, everybody. You're gonna
14th.
Feel the romance with that's it.
With Tucker
I'm gonna stick with my February 20th prediction.
All right.
I think that's my day.
Day after. Oh, it's either I'm going to say either the day after Christmas or the day after New Year's.
Guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jen, what do you got?
How many predictions of the release dates have we made so far?
I don't know. These are the real ones. Lock them in.
Lock them
Yeah,
in.
this is it.
I am going to say May 1st. Thursday, May 1st.
You're giving it the most.
May.
Tom, you said
1st.
February 13th?
I think February 20th. I'm still sticking with my February 20th date. I don't think they're going to put it out before Valentine's Day.
So we have to do really good Valentine's Day so that they understand when we're not here the entire next week.
Yes. And I'm saying I'll go January. What is it? January 2nd?
Yes, that's Thursday. That's a good day to do it too. I do like that post New Year's Day kind of a vibe. And they do like doing it in terms with holidays. It's not bad, but yeah, they're not gonna do it before Valentine's Day because no one's gonna be home to watch it. I
wanted to talk about the Rings of Power effect on that too, just a little bit, because it is kind of taking that same weekend that Wheel of Time had last year. And we were very concerned that they were going to be alternating year, like that same spot every year with Rings of Power, Wheel of Time. Rafe talked about, doing God of War and producing 16 episodes every 2 years, which was odd because if he was doing 2 shows, it would be 16 episodes every year if they were coming out the same year. So does this make you feel confident now that we're not going to be having 2-year gaps between each season?
Why would that make us feel confident? I feel like it should be the opposite.
In the coming year, though, that's less.
I think you talk about based on Rings of Power being released.
No. I mean, yeah. No, I mean with this coming year.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say the coming year and mean from June 2024 to September 2025. That's...
We should
I don't know.
More than a year.
Do the people at Amazon really give a shit what they're saying and like how we're interpreting it? Like they're just like, yeah, whatever. In the coming year, who cares?
I'm gonna put a little thing. We got to record something
know.
For the beginning of this episode to let everyone know that if they really want to have fun, is to drink every time they hear us say the coming year in this episode.
Somebody ask Alexa. What you think?
So I will. Yeah, I will say this. It never made sense to me to do for the show to come out every 2 years. Like we've talked about that ad nauseum, but like literally the cast would just age out of the show, right? So they're gonna have to at least move it to like an 18-month kind of vibe. We always felt that, and I do think though Rafe has gone on the record multiple times saying that they're not gonna put the show and Rings of Power like right next to each other. So like they want a substantial gap in between them one way or the other. So I do think if Rings of Power is coming out, end of August through September, like later in Q1 is probably a better bet, or early Q2, just to give them more space. And I think someone mentioned in chat, and I apologize, I think it might have been Dana, that I'm not sure though, that there was, I think, overlap between Gen V and season 2 of Wheel of Time. Yeah, I think that they don't necessarily feel there's a ton of need to distinguish those two properties in the same way.
Gotcha. Shall we move on from the coming year?
Sure.
And we're going to get back to the specting that we talked about in the beginning. There was just a few things that I had jotted down when we did our rewatch of season 1 and then watching season 2, like that we didn't really talk about in our recap and review episodes, because I thought they were not questions that could be answered relatively quickly. And I said, well, I'll save these for a later time. We could use them for another episode or 2 or 3, because they're kind of questions that we can talk about for a bit. And they're about the show in general, not necessarily specific aspects, although 1 or 2 might be. Anyway, let me get into these questions, or at least let's start with the first one. And this is not about the show, like any performances or anything like that. The question is, do you think they missed an opportunity? And when I say they, I mean Rafe and the producers, to make the show more accessible to younger viewers, right? The books themselves are not as adult, right? There's not like, you don't actually get graphic scenes in them too much. Like there's a couple of graphic scenes, but not a lot. And it's not like the Game of Thrones where it's very graphic and realistic. So do you think, and the fact that they kind of went more adult in the TV show, do you think they missed an opportunity there?
I'm trying to think of like what necessarily do you think is like more adult? I know they have like Rand and Egwene. I mean, you don't really see anything. What do you?
They don't have sex in the books.
I mean, they have sex, yeah, but like they don't show it.
No, I know, but they don't even have it. Like Rand's, like that's not even discussed as like a thing that either of them, like you're in Rand's mind for the whole first book, and never once is there a dirty thought about Egwene. It's very proper. Oh, he's very proper.
Yeah, I mean, it's, Rand's first time in the books is very clearly defined.
They don't call people bastards and assholes and
pricks.
Pricks.
Well, he was supposed to have had sex with Min, right? In the first book.
Originally,
so.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, the original.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it was a missed opportunity. I think it was an intentional choice.
Oh, I know that. I know it was intentional.
I think that television's a different medium than books are. I think that all ages television, quote unquote, or television that appeals to young viewers is stigmatized as to not appeal to adult viewers. And fiction that is for adults but is accessible for teenagers is not the same thing, right? I think that there was a desire to make this a show for grown-ups, and with that, like, grown-ups would be turned away for a show that was also aimed at teenagers.
I'm not saying that necessarily, like, and someone's putting this in the chat, like Lightblind the Fool put in the chat, Lord of the Rings. That's what you say, that's kids? That's skewed for teens? No, but it's not. It's more accessible to kids.
Yeah, it's not as much graphic.
Lord of the Rings is hyper violent. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not gory.
Gore, yeah, but it's gore.
Crazy violent.
But they're all monsters, right? There's orcs getting chopped up and things like that.
Right, and Boromir getting riddled with arrows.
Yeah, but you don't really see. It's only like a little blood coming out of his mouth. It's not like
he's literally riddled with arrows.
You don't see any like.
Right,
you see like a little dot of blood around, like when Layla died in Wheel of Time. That's like the most blood I've ever seen. But that's real. That's what would happen if you got axed in the
right when Lan almost dies in an episode. Right, like
that's again the most blood you've ever seen. When Lan almost died, I was like, "What's going to happen right now?" Because literally all the blood has come out of his body. Every drop of blood came out. There's no. What's happening right now? Yeah, but like,
right.
Willow, I'll talk about Willow. Willow is a movie that's not made for. It's not made for kids, although it kind of is.
It is a children's movie. Willow is a children's movie,
but it's amazing for adults too.
It's amazing for us as adults to watch it as kids. Like, talk to your dad about Willow.
My dad loves how much Willow. My dad loves Willow.
Oh, I got you.
Oh no!
We used to watch it together.
God damn it!
Right? I know it's right. I think Lord of the Rings is your best bet for something that obviously there are things that just appeal to everyone, but I think that again, I think that I think honestly it's specific to television. I think that television does not do drama for all ages, right? And when I say all ages, I just mean young adults and adults. Like they don't. Things that television drama that appeal to teenagers do not appeal to adults, just by the fact that they appeal to teenagers. Like adults are turned off by it, and vice versa. I think,
That's not true. My wife and I watch some shows that teenagers will probably watch.
Now you watch teenage television now,
or
you watch teenage television that you watched when you were like
new one.
a teenager or 20s.
No,
right, you watch
Yellow
Buffy now.
Jackets
It's good. Yellow
Yellow
Jackets is a movie it's a television show about middle-aged women who were children once. Yes.
Oh, I've never watched it. I'm trying to think of what's the one that's not Yellow Jackets?
It takes place in two times, Jen. Yes,
in two times,
in high school, and then it's also present day.
What's the show where the girls are on the island?
They're
like,
not on
the
an
plane
island.
goes down?
Yeah, that's Yellow Jackets. They're not on
Yellow Jackets. But it's about them as adults, and then you get flashbacks.
I've never seen it. I'm just trying to think of like... okay.
Well, I think there's the shows that my kids sometimes watch, but I guess it's not... It's a kid...
Bachelor in Paradise was thrown out as a suggestion.
No, like something like Euphoria, which is about teenagers.
Oh, I would never like that. That's a show that looks completely like I do not understand. I never.
Ginny in Georgia. I know Sarah watches that too.
Yes,
that's like half about the teenagers. I like that.
But that's another one. I think it's present day.
Euphoria's are...
No, it's like about the mom and the daughter.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, you see her in flashbacks too, but
maybe Gilmore Girls. I was about to say 10, 15 years ago. Maybe that's another one. It's like it's for both people. Maybe you get that.
But I think you can shows like that, you can enjoy it as a teenager and then also enjoy it as an adult because you're looking at it from a totally different perspective.
Gilmore Girls is my wife's favorite TV show. She watches the entire show about once a year.
I've never seen Gilmore Girls.
Once a year.
I guess in retrospect, I think there are some good examples in that time, in that era especially, of TV shows that did have relatively all age appeal, although I think that some of those were aimed more at one audience or another, right? I think some prestige television just kind of gives you across the board.
Well, it's different now because everybody used to watch TV together in the old days, and you had no choice. Like your parents would watch, you were there, you weren't doing anything else, so shows kind of had to skew towards both. But now, until it was like 10 o'clock and then the grown-up shows came on, but like now everyone's just watching whatever they want whenever they want, so you don't have to you can make stuff really dark and different things.
I mean, I think okay, I'm gonna ask a question about the reasons why they, you said Tom was a deliberate choice. I don't argue that. I know it was a deliberate choice to make the show a little bit more adult, skew adult a bit. Do you think Game of Thrones had an effect on their decision to do that? Like that's what they were thinking?
Yes.
Jen?
I think.
Sorry, Tom, you can keep going.
I mean, it can't not. It's like probably one of the most, if not most popular fantasy shows of all time, even though I think it's like not as fantasy as like other things, but I'm sure that weighs heavily on a lot of TV shows' decisions of what to do.
Yeah, I do. I think I don't think that the show is boxing out children. I think the show is trying to appeal to people who would be into Game of Thrones, right? Trying to get some of that same audience, and that's an older audience.
I tried to get Olive to watch it with me.
Wheel of Time?
Yeah, she's 10. I think she could watch it. I mean, nothing. It's violent, but like, and I think it's funny because I just want to see who said this in the chat. I think it was Holger. No, I'm going too far back. That in other countries, like violence is less important. Like parents would let their kids watch sex stuff before violence, whatever. And I'm like the complete opposite. I'm like, I'll let her watch anything, but if they start like talking about racy stuff, or I'm like, no, you can't watch that. So I'm like the exact opposite.
Yeah, America's very brutish.
The make out between Rand and Egwene, I'd be like, just the way they like stand up against each other, that would be like
he puts
just right on the cusp
up on the counter.
But yeah, yeah, I'll let her watch. I don't know. Violence and like scary stuff. If she's fine with it, I don't care. But sex stuff, I'm like, no, we're not doing that now. Nope.
Or ever.
Well,
yeah.
20 years.
It would have been interesting. It would be interesting to know how the show would have turned out if they did skew it a little bit more.
Young?
I don't mean skew it young, but make it more accessible to young.
Well, maybe they understood that their lead character was going to be 40 by the time the show ended, so they couldn't make him be really like innocent and not have sex with someone until he turned like 27. Like I mean, it's not like you're going to have an 18-year-old and
yeah,
they're not really kids. Like I said, they age them all up a little bit, and so.
Well, they only age.
Makes sense.
I
mean, what the hell else are they doing in that town? Like everybody's like having sex, experimenting with each other, and doing whatever.
Lives on a farm outside of town. It seems like a long journey. It's like you think he's like traveling hours and hours. I guess you probably would if you were a teenage boy. You'd be like,
yeah, are you kidding me?
Just for a little,
something. 100%.
What else is he gonna do? He's got a lot of chores to do. It's just him and his dad on the farm, so he's probably just, I don't know, rubbing one out in the barn every once in a while.
Oh my God. Okay. Thankfully they didn't put that in the show.
It's in the notes, Jen. Look it up in the box.
Notes. When next time I go to the library.
Yeah. All right, I got another question if you want to move on.
Sure.
All right, this is kind of a softball, I guess. But I want to get a little elaboration on this. So would season 1 have been as good as season 2 if there wasn't COVID and Barney didn't leave the show?
No.
It still wouldn't have been as good as season 2.
It's good. It's just not. I don't think it's as good as season 2.
Would it have been better than it was?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's clear. I think that's clear. No, I mean, because we got episode 6 was a little, they had to fix some things, but basically up till there, we had what it was. It's just like the last 2 episodes that got screwed up.
It's a quarter of the season.
All right, but
I think
see where they were. I don't think that 7 and 8 were going to be like life changing. I mean, it would have been better, but I think season 2, it just gets better as it goes anyway. Even in the books, like
I really want to know what the original plan was for the last episode.
I think we have very strong ideas about what that is.
Do we?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's more or less the same, except that Perrin, right? That Perrin kills Amelisa.
Yeah, I don't know where we heard
the girls,
that,
right? And that is the one who has to showdown with Thane in that scene. And Lan had like a big fight scene that got cut.
Perrin was going to murder a second woman in the season.
Yeah, I don't think that. I don't know if that would have been good. Not because of like him killing Amelisa. I don't care if he kills Amelisa, but like, what are Nynaeve and Egwene doing at that point?
They're doing the same thing.
They're going.
No, he kills them. He kills her to save them instead of Nynaeve sucking up the power and dying, and then being magic. Yeah.
All right, I guess
that was an arc that would have made sense. But I would say this: like, yes, it would be better, and I agree with you. I agree with Jen 100%. The best episode of season 1 is not as good as the worst episode of season 2. Right?
Really?
Yeah, I think we all agreed that when we did our voting. So yes,
episode 3 of season 1 has a special place in my heart.
Did we? I don't think so. I think I rated episode 3 as high, or if not higher than some of the episodes.
Maybe
of season 2.
Maybe. Brendan's not here to.
We have it. Do we have?
We have the scores saved somewhere, but I don't know if they're right next to each other.
Chat, otherwise.
It's in what? Our chat?
No, it's in the chat with Brendan.
The chat with Brendan.
Oh, I see.
You have to scroll through it and find them.
I don't know if they're back to back. And I think that here's the other thing. We rewatched season 1, and I don't think it held up as well as rewatching season 2 does. I think that season 2 is just a tighter thing, and I think that obviously I think COVID had a hell of a lot to do with that, but I think that any first season of a show is you're finding out where your strengths and weaknesses are as a show, whether that's production or on-screen performances or writing or anything, right? So, a lot of the people, and I know Daniel Henney said this a lot in the interviews for season 2, like season 2 is when they found out what the show was and how they were going to do the show,
but I mean,
make it well.
But that could have been because of COVID, though. Like that could have been. It could have been, but you also why they didn't do that in season 1.
I think you also need to almost like do a season of the show, get it out into the world, and see how it lands to really understand like what resonates and what doesn't. I mean, it's unequivocal that if Barney Harris had stuck around for episodes 7 and 8, like the quality of episodes 6 through 8 would have jumped up tremendously just because of the rewrites they had to do on the fly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just don't. Sorry.
Season 2 would have been totally different too.
That's also true.
Because Matt would have started off the season in Valdara. So, like, his whole story would have been different.
Yeah, I think.
And probably good. Not better than it was. I don't mean that. Better than. Listen, I really like Barney Harris. You guys know that. I obviously would have elevated episode 7 and 8 by a lot.
Agreed.
Just by being there. So, and by having Matt, just in general, because, like,
right.
Sucks to not have Matt in the story.
Do you think then, a follow-up question, do you think season 2 would have been closer to a little bit closer and, to the book story line, or there would have been less edited stuff to it if Barney never left the show?
Yeah, I think.
Just in general, not just his storyline, but just the entire season.
I think he would have been on the hunt.
Yeah.
I think he would have been with Perrin. But I don't think Rand's storyline would change, more or less. I think that was pretty locked in. And I don't know, because Matt really doesn't do a lot in the first 2 books. I don't know how much they would have done. I don't think they would have shoehorned in like his book 3 plotline in. I think he would have kind of just been like a tag along in Perrin's storyline. And I don't know how it would work.
I mean, they could have still sent him to Tarvalon. They could have played up the dagger and said he goes to Tarvalon with the girls to get healed because he's not totally healed. Because we don't know, right? Is that scene in episode 6 in season 1, right? We think some of that stuff was it like reshoots potentially, and that maybe he did
not the stuff with him in it. The stuff I think the scene outside with Maureen, where she says like,
right. Yeah.
There's darkness in him, blah 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 blah. So that when he leaves them, it's like not a big deal.
Yeah. So I guess they wouldn't have filmed him being healed by her if they knew he was going to leave.
I especially feel like that's extra because Loyal is there, and then when she sees him later, I know the second time she sees him, she wants something from him, so she's a little bit nicer. But she's like, "Oh my God, Builder!" And I'm like, "You literally saw him like 2 hours ago.
You're just talking to him."
Yeah, like. So that was like weird, but
yeah, I think I'm sorry because I don't like having no references, but I believe that Rafe has said in somewhere that the original idea for the season was that Matt was going to go on the hunt for the horn.
Well, maybe Rand would have come back. The whole end is different. Could have been different. Like he could have.
Maybe. Maybe
come back and then gone on the hunt.
Was Rand going to go by himself too? Like, was that the original plot?
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like maybe it wasn't. Maybe his plan was to come back and then
not
bounce on Egwene.
I'm not even saying that. I'm saying maybe they would have went with him. Like
then how are they going to go on the hunt for the horn?
Perrin,
No, I think it's very much so. The end of the way that episode 7 ends and episode 8 begins was always the plan. It was always just going to be Rand goes off alone, but Lan was going to go with him, I think, or Lan was going to maybe the tracking thing was going to happen, but like Lan was going to do stuff
Yeah.
and not just track people. He was going to have a big fight scene. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff in that. And to the point where they were prepping for that still, even though, and then like the COVID regulations is they couldn't get it because you couldn't have the stunt people get the makeup applications.
Yeah. Well,
Like you couldn't go around that long.
Yeah, maybe he just would have like come across Trollocs while
I think it would have been like,
them and,
I think he would have just been with them and have like a big fight, and then they didn't do that. But yeah, I think it was basically like the plot line that made sense with like Fane and the dagger and Matt. That would have happened, right? Instead of Perrin being there, and Perrin would have had his struggle about violence and figured out that like I have to be violent.
Yeah.
Right, that was the resolution that I think they originally intended, and everything else more or less would proceed as progressed. Obviously, I think the entire fight would have been different. The whole battle stuff and a lot of that was done because they could only use CG. But I don't know. I still think that I think that season 2 is it levels up almost every aspect of the show, right? I think performances are better, the writing's better. I think that the only thing I think that season 1 trumps it on is that the fight, the blood snow fight scene is still probably the best fight scene in the series.
Yeah.
Maybe next time we ask Rafe a question, we could ask him if he can release like a book that has all the original scripts in it before COVID happened.
Oh, that'd be, man.
I don't think he'd be allowed to do that.
But who cares?
I would love that. I would love
Why
love
not?
to see if that was possible.
Like at this point, who cares? What's it
At least they
that would be like
after the show's over, totally over. I think
after the show's over. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I might not be alive when the show's over if it keep going at this rate.
Oh, well, come on. You might not be alive tomorrow. You can't think like that.
That's true. All right. So Rafe, if you're listening, can you email it to me tonight just in case? Thank you.
So we all think it would have been better, but not as good as season 2.
I guess if you think that too, Joe, you didn't really voice an opinion.
I just did.
I know.
Yeah, I don't. Here's the thing, like you said, if those two things didn't happen, COVID and Barney leaving, season 2 would be different. So
right.
I would assume that season 2 would be even better than it was. So therefore, I think even with season 1 being better, it wouldn't have been as good as the new season 2, the different season 2. Would it be as good as the current season 2? I say it might be really, really close.
Okay.
I'm saying like right behind, like a
1B.
A nose, wins by a nose.
Okay. All right.
That's my thoughts on that.
All right.
I have one other thing. I'll skip the questions and go to this. This was something that I had pulled from one of the articles that came out back in December when they did press for the season 2, the rewatch, kind of trying to get everyone to rewatch. We never talked about this. There was an article in Collider. It was an interview with Daniel Henney, and he's talking about that final scene with him and Moraine at the end of episode 8 of season 2. And he's talking about how they were trying to figure out what they were going to do. And him and Rosamund, I think we've heard this before, right? They were in the hotel room kind of practicing what they were going to do and trying different things to see what was going to happen. So they came up with what they did in the show. And he says, quote, and then we sent, so they were videotaping it, by the way, while they were practicing it in the room. So Daniel Henney says, quote, and then we sent it to Rafe and he loved it. And then Amazon liked it and we shot it. So.
I'm sorry. They were videotaping it.
Yes. Yes, Jen.
Right, the old camcorder, the tapes on the waist. It's like 1983.
Yeah, your hand through that
sorry,
the side strap.
Yeah. Or you can open up the window like this. Those are the really advanced ones.
It was a DV8 camera.
My video cassette recorder is.
Sorry, I say it too. It's just funny when you hear it.
And then they brought the VCR over and the Walkman.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, does this make you think Or is this an indication to you that Amazon has, right? Because he says, and then Amazon liked it, right? He first distinguishes Ray from Amazon, and he's like, and then we shot it. To me, it sounds like they had to get approval from Amazon, whoever that may be. Is it the executive producers, or is it like the studio execs? Does this make you think like that? First of all, who do you think they're referring to when he says that?
Not the executive producers, because they're not with Amazon, right?
Right.
Most of the executive producers are like just people that have say, and it's like Harriet, Brandon.
Well, no, I mean like what's that guy? Mike Weber and what's her face?
Jennifer Salk.
No, not Jennifer Salk.
Okay.
No, she's an exec. She's a studio exec. I'm talking about the other executive producers, Mike Weber and what's her name? Who's the other one that I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Someone in chat.
She's an Amazon executive?
No, she's an executive producer.
No, I don't think it's them. I think it's the suits. I think it's the people who work at Amazon that are the executives at Amazon. They are the ones who have to sign off on certain things. I think that, when Guy Roberts was talking at JordanCon, he made at least one reference, I think 2 references, to how much like credit the people who work on that show give to Rafe Judkins, because Rafe has to run point person and has to run interference for all the shitty notes that executives give all the time, right? And has to manage these things that they may demand and still put out a show that like that the people who work on the show are proud of, right? So yeah, I think that sometimes like these people are just like, no, like they're demanding something and they want to see what they want to see, and like they have to sign off on what the final product is.
What percentage of,
because remember they had to go fly out to that place to film that scene, and like there wasn't 100% chance that like they were going to even get what they were going to get. So they probably had to be like, this is what we're going to do when we go, to get the approval to go get in a helicopter.
You think they wanted to know what was going to be the scene before they said, yeah, you can go and film the scene.
Yeah.
It was more the location. It was because of the location of the scene. That's why you said they needed approval, because they didn't want to waste their money if it was a crap scene.
I don't think it's only that. Didn't Rafe say something like he got 1,000 notes from Amazon for season 1 or something?
Yeah.
So it might, I'm sure it was partly that and partly just like, let me see it.
Right. Right. Like how like when you hear things, I know we all ridiculed the Bear brother thing. Like a lot of that shit doesn't come from the writer's room first, right? It comes from like a note, like we've seen wolves already, do something else.
We can't do wolves.
Right? And then you have to go through it and show people like why it's a bad idea to do something else, and then go, okay, we'll go back to wolves.
Can you imagine like a bunch of bears running up to Perrin? Bears don't even travel like that. Like, how would they have done it?
Yeah, what is Perrin going to get really tired in the wintertime and just sleep until the spring?
Like, why bears?
Then he goes to tell her
so many other
while he's asleep.
Animals that
he's a buddy brother.
Because bears are fucking awesome, Jen. That's why bears.
But bears don't travel in packs.
No, they don't.
So it would have been like one bear and him.
They also don't have cool bear eyes.
He could ride on a bear, though.
I would like to see Perrin just like ripping salmon out of a river, though.
Well, I mean, there's
like the Gollum biting into the fish.
Well, there's the scene with Elias, right, with the meat.
Eating the liver or whatever.
Instead, it would have been a salmon, just like a whole salmon.
Instead of Elias, just Baloo. Listen up, little britches.
I don't think Eamon Valda could have killed a bear.
That's
a picture of Eamon Valda killing a bear.
Valda's like shooting 8 arrows at the thing.
Yeah. Light.
Well, it's not Eamon Valda. It's Joffrey Bornhold that kills him. Right?
Oh, that's right.
He's pinned under the bear.
That's right.
And Joffrey Bornhold's like, I got my giant bear axe here. Hold on.
Throws down a bear trap.
So,
Pulls a bear trap out of his backpack.
she gets Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin to come help him.
Yes.
So, I think. What was the question again? Sorry.
I don't even remember. I was just talking about like Amazon approving scenes and how much of a hand do you think they have on this? Like, do you think they're like wanting to see every scene and saying yes or no, or was it like you said, because of these extenuating circumstances with this location that they were shooting at, that they wanted to see what they were going to do before they actually give the okay?
Yeah, I don't feel like Amazon, even if they're like stereotypical Hollywood executive suits that don't understand anything about entertainment, but just have terrible ideas. Like whoever that guy was that said that Superman movie, Superman can't wear the suit. He doesn't fly and he has to fight a giant spider at the end. And then they didn't make the movie. And then the guy got made Wild West, where he fights a giant spider. So anyway, even if it's that guy, I can't remember the executive's name, and I don't want to, but like, I don't think they're gonna want to see. They're going to see every scene in advance of them filming it. I think, like for this particular thing, it has to be like, I think there's like extreme reason, but I do think that they have their job is to do that. That's their job, is to protect their investment and give guidance as they see fit. Right. And I think it's Rafe's job in part to take that feedback and use it in the most effective way possible. Right. And know what is something that they're going to have to do, and what is something that he can push back on, and what is something he can do. And hopefully the show gets to a point where it's so successful that they just take the notes and throw them out. That's what Larry David's. You say that about Seinfeld. After like the third season of Seinfeld, he just literally would take the notes and throw them in the garbage and not even look at them from the studio. He's like, no, it doesn't matter. I don't care what they say.
Yeah, I think he basically got one of the first showrunner fired because he was telling the story on a podcast. I can't remember which podcast it was recently though. How they would give like when they first brought the show and the first season or so. He would like, bring the scripts to the showrunner, and the showrunner would like give him all these kind of notes. And basically Larry David said, I don't want to do anything that you suggested. I think these are all bad notes, terrible notes. And then like literally a couple of weeks later, that guy was fired and they got a new showrunner.
That's it. Yeah. It's not, those aren't good.
Yeah.
I remember on that too. Mel Brooks said that about Blazing Saddles. Like they made Blazing Saddles. They had like their first showing of the movie to like the executives, and the executives came back with like, I think they said something like 50 pages of notes.
Oh my
and
God.
Like there, like here, we watched the movie. He's sitting there waiting for them to come back, and he looked at the notes and he said, "We are doing none of them," and that's it. And that was the end of it. He's like, "This is the movie. That's what you're going to get. And you can either not put it out, or that's what you're going to get." Because there was a lot of stuff. It was crazy stuff. And they were like, take out the racism, like whatever, like that's what the movie is about,
take out the beans.
Right. Like, that I can see a little bit like, but, so, hopefully they get to a point where they're successful enough that like, he has more leeway to say, thanks for that. We're going to do this. But I think right now he's got to kind of play that side. And it is a money thing too. There's a lot of like, they've got a huge, they've got a huge budget, but it's an expensive show. And the money, they have to protect their investment. They have to say like, this is worth doing. This is not worth doing. You're going to have season 2 being Carrie-Anne a lot.
Not as big of a budget as Rings of Power, though.
No, well, there weren't 3 really good and 3 not that good movies made first.
Yeah, and new movies coming out. I think this is a good place to wrap it up. What do you both think?
Sure.
I want to remind everyone to follow us on social media. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Join us over in Discord to continue the conversation there. We also post our episodes on YouTube, so go check out our YouTube page and be sure to like and subscribe. Rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts, and check out our merchandise and Patreon pages to support us that way. Links to all the aforementioned information are included in the show notes to this episode. Final thoughts, Tom, Jen, last words.
I might have a new bathroom by the time we do our next show, so
You better
everyone
post
keep your
pictures.
fingers crossed that everyone hope it goes smoothly next week and I can shower in my own home again.
All right. I was going to say, guys, the response to our main character survey has been absolutely tremendous so far. Please keep voting. We're going to be doing our results episode in a couple of weeks. If you haven't done it yet, take the opportunity to do so. They are.
Go ahead.
What?
Yeah, there's some votes that I think it's still up in the air, but a lot of votes have been cast. And I really appreciate everyone who has voted so far for being so engaged. I'm really excited to share the results soon.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you for reminding me. We can announce that in 2 weeks we'll be beginning our countdown of the results of that. Yeah. So 2 weeks, everyone, get excited. This is going to be the definitive, right? This is what it's going to go down in history. It's going to be stamped by official rules, organization, a governing body.
I think if anyone disputes it, we will have factual evidence to back up the fact that we are right and they are wrong, thanks to the literally thousands and thousands of votes that we've already received. I expect that we're going to have it's going to be a very large number of votes. So guys, take the opportunity 2 weeks from now. So we're going to record on the 31st ish. You've got until then to vote.
Yes.
For as much as you want, early and often. Go for it.
Thanks everyone for listening, and you'll hear us next time.